This week on Modern Mountain Man, it's all about the brass. Well, if you didn't see my former episode about the 375 Stalker brass and that whole project, I encourage you to go check that one out. But today, we're talking about 50 Beowulf brass. You know, when I very first started exploring the 50 Beowulf cartridge and considering the build, if you guys don't remember or didn't ever see my Frankenwolf build, go check that guy out. He's awesome. But when I began considering the 50 Beowulf build, you know, one of the things you really look into is ammo, cost of reloading, various things like that. And I did that whole cost comparison analysis when I was making my mind up between the Beowulf, the 458 SOCOM, and the 450 Bushmaster. And I pretty much one of my deciding factors, one of the reasons why I went with 50 Beowulf was at the time of my decision, and probably still today, it was the cheapest one to either buy factory ammo for and or reload for. And one of the things I kept bumping into when I would read forums and Facebook groups and various things like that, people would constantly say that the brass that you get on the factory ammo from Alexander Arms was like junk, but Starline is awesome. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of blew it off as just forum hype, people talking like they knew about something when they didn't really, because I'd read in another forum that Alexander Arms got their brass from Starline. I'm like, well, how can it be better? Are they just sending them their B grade? What's going on? I just thought it was just a difference that was in people's heads. Well, when I very first built the 50 Beowulf, I wanted to make sure instead of running reloads initially, I ran all factory ammo. So that way, if there was any kind of dysfunction, if there was any improper ejection or what have you, I would know that it was my build's fault and not the ammo. So we get all this Alexander Arms factory ammo and I begin shooting it. And, you know, I actually had a few little problems initially. And, you know, one, it just took a little minor gunsmithing to fix. But after I started reloading ammo for the first time, I began to question whether it was actually the gun or was it the ammo that I was using. So I start my reloading journey with 50 Beowulf. I've got all this brass that I've saved up from all of my factory ammo, of all my testing and shooting and plinking and just the fun that I had with the 50 Beowulf initially before I started reloading for myself. You know how you do, you just have containers at home, you fill it full of brass, you're like, one day I'm going to come back and reload you. Well, I go through the process, I clean the brass, I get ready to start resizing the brass, and as you do it, you know, you start going through the personal inspection of things, and I just start noticing problems with my Beowulf brass from the Alexander Arms factory ammo. Had some cases that were a little splittish. But the big thing that I kept having was, well, let me show you. So my initial thoughts with the problems with the brass that I was having, I thought it had to do with just, wow, this cartridge recoils so much, it's just doing so much damage to the case. Because as I was trying to put them into the shell holder, they weren't going in. They were getting stuck. Let me give you an aerial shot. So this is an unfired Alexander Arms loaded ammo. Initially, I was thinking the reason I was having problems, the problem I'm about to show you, was because the brass had been once fired, and man, Beowulf, such a devastating round, it must have ruined all this brass. Until I tried it with one that had never been shot. Watch this, guys. See, it won't even go in there at all. At all. It just sticks right there. I'll drop it down so you see that it's not contacting with anything above. It won't go in. Won't go into the shell. Like this, the rim is just like too thick, or the angle is wrong, or something's up with it. And like half of my brass from from Alexander Arms was bad like this. I had to throw away half my brass. Now, when you do that cost comparison, that analysis, you're kind of counting on keeping your brass, and it completely throws my analysis off when I have to throw it away. I'm going to throw away half of my Alexander Arms brass. Let me tell you what I don't have to throw away. Starline. Starline, man, right there, it says America's finest brass. And can I tell you, you can load and reload, load and reload, load and reload. I know guys that shoot 50 Beowulf just like me. They shoot the same charges that I shoot. They shoot the same projectiles that I shoot. They shoot out of the same brand of barrel that I shoot out of. And they are on their 7th, 8th, and 9th loads on some of this brass. I couldn't get a second reload. I couldn't get a first reload out of some of this brass I had from Alexander Arms. This stuff right here, superior stuff. So big shout out to Starline. And in case you were under that same confusion that I was previously, yes, Alexander Arms used to buy their brass from Starline, but quality control has kind of gone downhill over there, and now they're buying it from somebody cheaper, and it's not America's finest brass. So God bless you. Go take your mountain and reload with some Starline.